Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another Infinite Ammo Syndicate podcast. Today we are talking about car combat and arcade style racers. For the most part, to clarify, we're not talking about like simulation stuff, so stuff like Gran Turismo and Drive Club. That is not going to be included in the list. I'm going to let Tommy explain that too.
Uh, well, if you don't know who the hell I am, I'm Tommy Toe, Tommy 45 City. You may have seen me race iRacing in the stream, which is totally sim racing. But Simcade is basically a hybrid of simulation and arcade. What it typically means is that it's hard enough that precise inputs are required. Like you gotta know your braking points, you gotta know when to shift down, when to shift up, you gotta know when not to step on the throttle to incur real spin, but it's casualized enough for anyone to simply pick up a controller and play. Like Ren said, Drive Club and Gran Turismo are also great examples. Another good example would be Forza Motorsport for the Xbox, for y'all you Xbox out there. Lol.
Yeah. So we're gonna get started. We're gonna get to these intros. So we have Mr. Daybreaker Rain.
Hey everybody, how's it going? We were gonna do this like a month ago.
Yeah, a month
um,
ago. Then
but
it got hard to get people.
yeah, it got hard to get people, and things just kept getting pushed back, especially because E3 was like right around the corner. So finally glad that we're knocking this out.
Next we have Tommy Versetti.
Once again, I'm Tommy Toe, Tommy 45 City, your resident iRacer for the Infinite Ammo Syndicate. Yeah, this was supposed to be done like a couple weeks ago, but it definitely got pushed back, and I can see how hard it is to get people in here. But yeah, we're glad to get to do this.
And I am Renegade Operative. I am the host of the podcast. Yeah, I played a couple of car combat games while studying for this pretty much. So I have like some knowledge about it. So we're gonna get started with the first question, and that is, what is your favorite car combat action style racer? So who wants to go first?
And we're doing our top five, yeah.
Yeah, top five favorite, and the next question is top five worst.
Okay. I can go first with my top five favorite. I'm gonna kind of mix it up. Oh, and we're just doing arcades. Okay. Uh, So I originally had two separate lists because there are a lot in the genre that I actually do kind of hold dear, and I do like, but I'll kind of mix it up a bit. So for number five is an arcade racer called MotorStorm Apocalypse. That was my introduction to the MotorStorm series, which was a good game to start out on. It was actually a recommendation from a person I was talking to on Skype a long time ago, and I really enjoyed it. It was really fun, arcadey. It was just utter mayhem. It just felt like there was a lot going on. I didn't have it for very long, so I didn't get to play like too much into it, but I really did enjoy it. It definitely stood out amongst the rest for me. So number four is a combat style racing game, and that'd be Twisted Metal 4 on PS1. That probably has to be my all-time favorite Twisted Metal, with Twisted Metal Black falling right next to it. Don't get me wrong, I like Black, but Twisted Metal 4 had a lot to offer in terms of just content. There were tons of racers, tons of boss characters, and even the ability to make your own custom vehicle with custom weapons. So I thought that was a really unique thing, and I wish they really would have visited that in other iterations of Twisted Metal. It's unfortunate that never caught on, but I know that like Twisted Metal 3 and 4 were done by different teams than the people who did Black. So yeah, there's that. So that was definitely that would probably be a definitely good choice, I would say. So for number three is another combat racing game, and that's Jack X Combat Racing. I'm a big fan of the Jack and Daxter series, and I will admit that I was a little put off by the idea that they would go from like action platforming adventure games to like a racing game. But believe it or not, it's actually done really, really well. I think that it's a very underrated gem on the PS2. So definitely worth a check out if you are a fan of just Jack and Daxter in general. I think it's definitely worth a shot. Lots of fun. Had a lot of fun with that. Never got to experience the online though, so I'm kind of like holding out that hope that maybe like the PS2 to PS4 version comes around somewhere and brings back the online servers. The next one I want to talk about, my number two, would be a arcade racing series, and that would be the F-Zero series. I've always really enjoyed the idea of like futuristic racing, and F-Zero really does hit that mark. I've played pretty much every F-Zero that's out there except the arcade version, which a lot of people tell me that the F-Zero arcade game is like probably the best version out there. I know that there's some weird way you can access the arcade version via the GameCube game, but I wouldn't know too much about that. But F-Zero is just a lot of fun. It's just straight up high speed racing. So if that's your thing, I would definitely say check that series out as well. So my number one for best vehicle / arcade combat is the Wipeout series. Again, kind of pointing into the futuristic racing. It's F-Zero more or less, but you have the ability to fight your opponents in a number of different ways. There's different ways there's like elimination races, there's tournament races, there's just a crap ton that they offer as opposed to what F-Zero does. And they also have like just a crap ton of different speed classes. So like you've got like super fast speed and super slow speed if you're not into like just having to have those keen reflexes to be able to steer your vehicle. But it's a super awesome series. I definitely recommend it. They just came out with the Wipeout Omega collection for PS4. So for any PS4 owners, definitely check that out because that is the remastered Vita game. And then it's a remaster of Wipeout HD, which was on PS3. So I would say check that out. And so that's my top five.
All right, so I guess I can go next. So my top five, number one is Twisted Metal Black. I really love the entire like aesthetic of that game. It's like they took everything that was good about Twisted Metal and they warped it into this giant dark like it was a bundle of like everything. It was a giant dark masterpiece and I really enjoyed it. The story was one of the best in my opinion considering how psychotic everyone is. It's really just a bundle of fun. I played it a little bit today and overall, while the controls feel a little bit finicky for the time, I did appreciate like how the power-ups work, how you can literally like set your drivers on fire once you blow up their cars and run them over. I think that was the first M-rated Twisted Metal if I'm not too mistaken. But yeah, that whole entire appeal blew me away while playing it. I definitely recommend Twisted Metal Black. My second one is Burnout 3 Takedown. Burnout 3 is one of those games that you have to play if you're into arcade style racers because Burnout 3, they take a lot of arcadey elements and you have to take down cars and you can get points and boosts for that. So the whole effect of how the takedowns work is really interesting. I like that you can after touch into vehicles, and after you're dead, you can sort of cause a collision of other cars and get more points. So yeah, in Burnout Revenge is my third choice. That's basically Burnout 3 on crack. You can boost through traffic. You can destroy like a whole cavalcade of cars. It's basically the takedown mechanic that they introduced in the last game, but they ramped it up to like another notch. My fourth pick, let me see here really quickly. I do believe it's Jack X. I played a little bit of Jack X, but from what I played, yeah, I agree with Daybreaker. It's one of those games where it's like they're taking it and putting it into another genre, so it gives you that sort of skepticism. But overall, it turned out to be a very great game. It reminds me of them taking like Crash out of his element and putting him into Crash Team Racing. So them doing that and making a overall decent game out of that is something that I would like to see more people do in the future. I also cannot wait until the Jack re-releases come out so I can actually go from Jack X Combat Racing from start to finish. I think playing that demo in particular was something that alleviated my skepticism of playing another Jack game that's vastly different. I think Lost Frontier really brung down my optimism in terms of Jack having these spin-off games. So it was a breath of fresh air playing Jack X at a later date and being overall satisfied with it. I will be picking that up once again on the PS4 when it re-releases. Let's see, what do we have next? For the last one, we have Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. This game was an open world racing game that's done by Rockstar Games. Uh, it's good in the sense that it's open racing, so you don't have like invisible walls that you can run into. You don't have like a lot of restrictions. It's open road, so you can go pretty much anywhere to get to the finish line. Back then, that game had a lot of customization as well. So a lot of people really, really enjoyed it, and I'm in the same boat when it comes to how much you can customize your cars and unlock new races. I definitely think that Midnight Club should make a return, and that is one of my top favorite games ever. That's why it made this list. So next we have Mr. Tommy, which he can give his top five because I'm done right now.
All right. I got my five here in
Mhm.
no particular order, really.
Okay.
First one would be Need for Speed Most Wanted. And one of my all-time favorite Need for Speed games. It has a story, but at least the story isn't overwhelming per se. There's a lot of customization there, and one of my favorite things about that game is that the absence of car chases in the first and Need for Speed Underground, Underground 2 are pretty apparent. So that you just go to the race, you just do your race, and then you go to the next one. Not here, Most Wanted. Now you got cops to worry about, and after you're done, there may be a good chance that you're gonna get chased down by the cops. Is at the end, so you're not really taking a break out there. Now I get that you don't want to get involved in a chase, but the cops actually do play a role in here because there's some incentives behind making it to the blacklist, and that includes how long you're supposed to be in a pursuit, how fast can you evade a pursuit, how many cop cars can you get disabled, how many robots you can push through, all that type of stuff. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. Plenty of customization, drives good, and yeah, it's one of my favorites. Another Need for Speed in the title is the Hot Pursuit and Hot Pursuit 2 rather. Not the Criterion remake. Not the Criterion remake. Gotta make that clear. Hot Pursuit 2. Oh, man. I have so much fun when I rented it from a Blockbuster, and I did own it for a bit before I eventually sold it, but oh man. It may be a circuit-based racer, and maybe from waypoint to waypoint, it's not really open world per se, unlike Most Wanted, but there is so much shit going on in Hot Pursuit, Hot Pursuit 2. You got supercars from well-known marques like the Corvette, Aston Martin, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, and you're racing against a cars that drives essentially the same vehicles you're driving. It going from the common Crown Victoria to out of this world Lamborghini, like how you gonna see that? And the best part about Hot Pursuit 2 is how insane the racing can get. Yeah, like one of my favorite moments from playing that game is seeing the helicopter pop from the sky. And normally police helicopters would just track the suspect down. Here they just try to tell oil barrels at you, and if you manage to collide into one of those, it will just explode in the air and put you at a massive disadvantage. And so only that is a bit of a skill, but it's also very rewarding and very fun. And it's not even more fun if you're a cop and you dish out the punishment. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Third favorite would be Mario Kart 64, and gotta be honest, it's actually my introduction to racing, into the racing genre. It's a bit of a party racing game per se. Like you bring your friends over and you just race karts. It kind of came to F-Zero. 4 players. You got Grand Prix. You got 4-player head-to-head racing. You got battle mode available only on 3 to 4 players. Yes, it's just simple. Simple. You just pick up a controller and you just play. Hey, there's also power-ups along the way, so you really don't feel like you're getting a massive disadvantage, but in the same way, you don't feel like you have an advantage because it all bounces out at the end. So you don't feel, even if you have a big lead, you still feel vulnerable because P2 could throw out a homing missile attack at you, the red shell, and it'll just claw right back into the thick of things. Fourth, down the list, it's not racing per se, but I'm going to include it anyway. Driver, the Driver series. It's actually a mission based driving game, but
I think Driver San Francisco would definitely count because it's all racing, right? You can't get out of the
yeah.
car in that game. You can warp to other cars, but you can't get out.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the original Driver for the PS1.
Oh, the original. Okay, that counts. Yeah, that can count.
Yeah, so Driver, when I had it, it is mission based, but the physics are geared towards more like Hollywood stunt driving. Like you can drift out of control and straighten out no problem, but that's not. I can get past that due to the fact that it's just flat out fun with the story that you can really get into. It is Tanner, undercover cop, trying to uncover what's going on within the mob. And he had to do driving missions in 4 places, which is Miami, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and New York. Four places, all of them fun to drive. Like the only down part about that is that all the streets are like 90 degrees, but it was they think it was they limited that back then, so I can forget it. It is a PS1 title after all, but the driving is fun. It can get floaty, but when you go on free run, you get pursued by the cops. I just had a lot of fun getting chased by cars, doing all these insane driving until the car gets broken. It's a lot more fun if you have cheats on, which I kind of did for the final mission because of how bullshit that was. But that's another podcast, really. And so yeah, Driver, one of my favorites. And finally on the list is Fallout 2. Now I did have all 3 Fallouts on my PC. The first one I didn't really like because I feel the handling is a little tight, and by that it's not how I wanted to drive. I prefer cars that are more responsive. Fallout 2 has cars that are responsive, and one of my best. The driving physics are great. I think I just repeat myself. But the races vary from a traditional circuit to quote unquote arena based. There's lots of demolition derbies in there, and everyone's favorite, the mini games in which you hurl your driver out the window to do some activities like the high jump. You eject your driver to try and get as high over the bar as possible in 3 tries, or bowling. The driver's the ball. I think you can get when getting at baseball, where the car is your pitcher and you're the ball.
Yeah.
So on and so forth.
I seen flat out gameplay before, and yeah, you could definitely use the driver to knock down like other stuff in the environment. So it looks pretty fun.
Yeah, it's not useful in a racing situation because that is time lost right there. But it is funny and fun. That's just a detriment in natural racing. But in those activities, check the driver, get as many points as you can.
All right, so we're gonna move on to our next one here. The worst car combat and action style racers. I couldn't think of 5, but I thought of 2. So I have the first on the chopping block. That is Hardware Rivals. I hated this game. I know it's free on PS Plus, but I did not like it. It felt like a watered down clone of Twisted Metal, but it just wasn't good. The controls felt super stiff, and for a racing game in particular, I find that to be very, very bad, even if it's car combat. The power ups feel like bullshit because you can annihilate a car in like one missile strike, so I didn't like that. That felt broken. And the environmentals, which can blow you up or nuke you in like a couple of seconds and you can't really hide anywhere because someone's chasing you, it really brought down the experience. It's like it had the potential, but it just lacked in a lot of areas. That's why I really didn't like that game, and the controls really didn't help either. The second disappointing, I say it's disappointing, not entirely bad, but Twisted Metal for the PS3. The online was just borked. I mean, every time I tried to play online, it just would not work. The controls were also a bit too convoluted because I remember like everything had a button mapping and a button mapping on top of a button mapping, and it got real confusing after a while. The gameplay itself is fun, fast and furious like Twisted Metal is supposed to be. However, those problems in mind just make that to be the most disappointing one in my eyes. But that's about it.
Yeah, I can go ahead and go next, I suppose. I
Alright.
am kind of in the same boat with Ren. I actually couldn't think of five. I looked at the list I found on Wikipedia for games in the genre, and a lot of the games I knew about, but I hadn't played. There was one in particular I thought about making mention of, but I couldn't really say anything on it because, again, I hadn't played it. It was only just by word of mouth I heard that it wasn't really that good. So I'm not going to bother mentioning that. But I'm not going to list these off in any particular order, but one of them Ren already talked about. For me, for worst, was Twisted Metal 2012. It was just a real slap to the face because I would say that probably a lot of us in the IAS, especially in here, are Twisted Metal fans. And there's just so much content in like all the games spanning like even the PS1 ones, like I was talking about Twisted Metal 4. There's just so much content. There's so many racers you can pick from. There's all these different crazy stories. There's all the boss characters that you can unlock. There's a ton of levels, even levels you unlock after beating the game at least once with a custom character. So I mean, there's just tons of potential there for just hours of fun. The Twisted Metal remake, like I was really looking forward to it considering the technology of the PS3. I was like, damn, if Twisted Metal Black can be as good as it was on PS2, what could they do with Twisted Metal on PS3? They could make it like even better. You could have like a 50 character roster or whatever, this huge insane roster, like all these crazy stories, this crap that Calypso pulls. But that wasn't the case. We got 3 racers that you're able to choose at the beginning, and then like a 4th that's unlockable. And I'm like, that's just asinine compared to like when you even think of just the original Twisted Metal. The original Twisted Metal had more selectable characters than a new age game on a new end console. Like, so I was extremely disappointed with it. Like, I wanted to give it hope and benefit of the doubt. And granted, storyline wise, although the story is a bit lackluster, it does kind of have the Twisted Metal charm. Not as dark and twisted as what Twisted Metal Black was.
Yeah.
For sure, but definitely it does have that Twisted Metal vibe. And like, I guess most of the budget went to paying, because all these cutscenes are done with live actors, which is a rarity nowadays if you really think about it. Most of it's just either mocap to 3D animations or whatever. It's never actually live action cutscenes. So that was pretty cool. I mean, aside from that, though, it left a lot to be desired for a Twisted Metal fan, I would say. So the next one I'm going to talk about, and I've played this very briefly, but watched enough reviews to know that I probably never go back to it, is Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. This is an example of taking a genre that was action adventure platforming and making it a car combat game that just was not good. I personally just never cared for the concept. I thought that it wouldn't work with Banjo. I mean, there are exceptions to the rule. Like, you look at what Naughty Dog did with Crash Team Racing and Jack X, and it obviously they had a lot of love and attention that went to those particular games to make them work and make them fun and enjoyable. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts was just not that. I didn't enjoy it. I don't know anybody who actually did enjoy it. If you did, more power to you. Not going to say that you're wrong. I watched a bunch of reviews, probably most notably the JonTron review on it, And I was just, it's just not something that I think any fans wanted. And it does so many things to like tease the gamer about how, oh, well, nobody really wants a collectathon or anything like that. They like make jabs at the people who really, really wanted a new Banjo-Kazooie title. So the next one I'm going to talk about is South Park Rally. And I don't care what version you play. I heard that the N64 version is a lot worse than the Dreamcast version. I played the Dreamcast version, and oh my God. So I like South Park. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love South Park to death. Especially now that I'm older and watching it when I'm older, I can enjoy the jokes and the humor a lot more. The freaking Stick of Truth, I played that, like, as soon as I got that game, I played through it like 3 freaking times because I was just like, oh my God, this game is so freaking ridiculous. It's funny. It's humorous. And you'll get the humor with South Park Rally, but it's played by god-awful controls, god-awful mission objectives, and it's just not as fun as it could be. Like, it could be in the vein of like stuff like Mario Kart and stuff like that if they had just done it better. Like, fans of the show might really like it for the humor aspect, but after a while it's just like the humor kind of dries up because it's like, oh, you laugh at a couple of the power-ups, like when you get Mr. Hanky as like your shield, like he can absorb damage for you or whatever, and that's kind of funny. And then like all the the character dialogue is kind of funny, but then it just kind of loses its charm. And yeah, the mission objectives, it's not just straight racing, and the maps are really, really weird. So it's not like this linear thing. It's like you could literally drive all over the map, but there's a specific way you got to drive through the course to actually progress. And it's really, really awful. Like, I would not recommend it unless you are just a fan of South Park and you're just curious by any means. The last one I'm going to talk about, and this one might surprise a couple people, is Crash Tag Team Racing. I like Crash Nitro Kart, but I played Tag Team Racing, and I don't know. Like, I feel like when Mario Kart Double Dash came out, and the whole gimmick is that you had 2 racers, like one taking care of like your weapons and stuff, and then one driving it. Especially when you involved multiple people into that game, so you had one person driving and then one person completely taking care of the shooting aspect. I just don't think Crash Tag Team Racing was left in the right hands. I don't think it's a good game. I played the PSP version, and it suffers from an absolutely garbage frame rate to the point where it's almost unplayable. Like, I played the PSP Motor Storm, and that has a better frame rate, and it's enjoyable, and it's not hindered by any slowdown or anything like that. But Crash Tag Team Racing is just really, really bad. And then they tried to add in this whole thing. Instead of just being in your car, like in the original Crash Team Racing for like the adventure mode, you're stuck behind this, oh, you've got to run around and platform and collect currency to buy your levels and stuff like that. It's not just, oh, play these couple tracks, get the token, get the trophy or whatever, and then you move on to the next area. It's now you're locked behind having to do side quests to unlock vehicles and all this other crap. So it's almost like they added like RPG elements where you got a quest to get your, vehicles and unlock new courses and stuff. And that really just doesn't work. It kind of breaks the flow from the game because you just want to race. Like, when I think of like vehicle combat, arcade style racers, like that's kind of what I think about, is like, you just want to get into the game. You just want to just have it there. You just like, click a menu, click your card, and you're good to go. You're good to race. Not this, oh, I got to run around, collect tokens for the next 5 minutes so I can unlock the next portion of the game. So yeah, definitely not a recommendation for me. If you're going to play any other of the Crash games besides Crash Team Racing, play Nitro Kart. But yeah, so that'd be it for my worst.
Yeah, them doing that, like, to unlock cars and stuff like that, you want to just get in and race. You don't want to just unlock stuff and waste your time. Unless it's like an extra bonus that you want to do, sure, but not to progress. That sounds really dumb. So we're gonna get into question number 3 here. Why do you think? Tommy, yeah, I forgot you didn't go. Go ahead, Tommy.
All right. Also, in no particular order. First off is the Need for Speed reboot. Now, I actually enjoyed it, but once I beat the game, it just feels empty once you beat it. Like, there's nothing much to do except improve your own times, but it's not the type of game I want to go back into, and the driving physics is a little too simplistic for my liking. Like, in order to drive, all you had to do is stop on the gas, tap on the brake, and then stop on the gas again, and then to stay in it, you just pedal the gas pedal. It's heavily casualized, and it's really it's not that fun at all. Second game I didn't enjoy. Tokyo Daredevil, which I played as a kid, but thinking back to it, I seem to remember how bad the driving handling is. It either turns on a dime or it pushes like a dump truck, and the ejectors are they're grindy. And if you want to go to the next area, you have to collect this amount of coins or in a given stage. And it's just not fun at all to even to progress. I just want to race, you know. Third game I didn't enjoy would be Street Racing Syndicate. I had this game. Really, the only reason why you will own the game is to unlock girlfriend videos so that you can see your girlfriend and dance in the most awkward way possible. They're campy, but the good kind of campy. As for the physics and racing, even though the pavement appears wet from the rain, it had absolutely no effect at all, and the sense of speed just isn't there. It's especially noticeable when you hit the nitrous button, hit the NOS button, hit the NAS grill, and it just doesn't feel like you're hitting the NOS button. All of a sudden the sound just ceases. You just hit the rev limiter and you don't even know it because you kind of need to listen to the engine to know when to shift. If it's a technique I learned from sim racing, but yeah, you have to listen to the engine to know when to shift. And when you hit the nitrous button, all of a sudden the engine sound just quit working, and you just wind up hitting the rev limiter and you don't even know it because you just keep an eye on the road ahead, not look at the tachometer at all. Because why would you? Fourth worst would be Flat Out 3, and if you want to ask what Flat Out 3 is, don't. For the love of God, don't. Everything's just bad about the game. And from my experience, it made my PC, it crashes so often and not. Granted, it may have been because I put some customized music, but I had such less fun playing that game. It is so not fun playing that game at all that I didn't even bother deleting every piece of customized music off my list to test if that indeed causes a crashing. The physics are god awful. The racing's god awful. The AI sucks. Nothing's enjoyable in that game, really. And fifth one, well, I actually had a hard time. I think on the fifth one on my list, I had Street Racer, which is an SNES title. Remember playing that game? Remember how much Mario Kart about that was? Need for Speed Run, which I believe is the game that came out, one of the first racing games that came out in the previous generation, if I recall correctly. Details. All I know is, as much as I enjoyed it, the story got a little ridiculous in my opinion, and the quick time events are not so fun at all. I just want to race. I don't want to pass vendor buttons on the screen and to play a cutscene, and just let me drive. But ultimately, I nailed down to Dead Showdown, which supposedly is a sequel to Dead 3. I actually remember how disappointing Dead 2 was, but 3 was a little step up, but Showdown feels like two steps back. It just focused way too much on the adrenaline-based type of racing you expect from the overzealous, not overzealous, famous drifter, stunt driver, now GRC rallycross driver, can block. It just he had too much of an. In my opinion, he had too much of an influence in that game, and I think it showed because it's just too crazy for my liking. It is arcade based, but to me, it's a little too crazy.
Okay, you're done, Tommy?
I'm done.
All right, so we have a late entry here. We have SSJ God. Introduce yourself, good sir. Can you hear us? I don't think he can hear us. But whenever he gets back, we'll continue on with the next questions for him. So we have question number 3. Why do you think the car combat genre is always underutilized when it comes to new releases? Really quickly, I want to go first on this. I think this is because Twisted Metal, the boom, is pretty much gone. David Jaffe, excuse me, he's working on stuff like Drawn to Death, which I played that game and it's not really too interesting. I don't like it. So a lot of imitators aren't following suit in the same vein as Twisted Metal. The reasoning behind it is because back then it was really popular. So that's probably why a lot of people aren't doing games like that anymore because they figure games are getting bigger in budget. There's a lot more indie car combat racers out there today. You can see stuff like I think they are doing like a new sort of like car combat game. Like I saw it before on Kickstarter. I just can't remember the name. But if it comes to me, I'll bring it back up. Whenever new car combat games come out, usually they are indie. I think AAA studios, they're just not going to take that big risk anymore because of that. So that's my reasoning behind it. That's my assumption. So anyone else want to go on question number 3?
Yeah, kind of to play off of that, I think Ren pretty much said it. The spark that was there for that kind of genre of game is really not there in the mainstay, especially when it comes to like AAA developers. Like Ren said, you'll see it a lot in the indie market. There's a lot of indie games out there that have that genre out there. A game that comes to mind is like Cell Damage, for example, which is just like a cartoon, extravaganza kind of thing where it's just combat racing, just a bunch of cheeky fun. And it's really not like, because when a lot of people like think about those games, it's kind of in the same vein that like a lot of these games were really popular, especially the racing ones in general, were popular in arcades. And arcades here in the West specifically are dying out. So arcade racers are just really far and few between. Now, there are, of course, those like racing sim arcade style ones that are on the market, such as like Forza example. But there's just really not a huge demand for those type of games like there was before. And really, it's kind of hard, especially in the combat vehicle aspect, to really compete with stuff like Nintendo, like when they do Mario Kart. Everybody jumps on the new Mario Karts because Mario Karts just blow people's minds. Not to say that I don't like, it's not that I don't like Mario Kart 8. I absolutely love it. I think it's great. It's Mario Kart. It's always been great to me. But it's really hard to compete with that specifically, to like really bring something to the table that's going to draw people in.
Yeah, I think kart racers are definitely like a lot more bigger in terms of a genre. I think that a lot more people would be inclined to do a Mario Kart style imitator or bring back stuff like roll cage racing, opposed to like car combat, because like I said, because Twisted Metal is pretty much, I don't know what Sony is going to do, but David Jaffe again is working on other projects. I think because it's not really relevant, that's why people aren't taking that chance. And if people do take that chance, they are more inclined to do indie titles. So it's an interesting subject. I do wish it was still relevant because those games are pretty much very fun, and I think there could be new innovations to that particular genre. But because of that, it's like it's dead in the water. So it reminds me a lot of like how beat 'em ups are now because there aren't really a lot of those, and the ones that we do see, I mean, there is stuff like Yakuza, but other ones they really don't sink in as well as stuff like Double Dragon did back in the past, or stuff that we played before like River City Ransom. I mean, they do try to bring it back, but still, at the end of the day, it's not as popular as it used to be, which is a real shame. I really wish that there was more stuff instead of just first person shooters, first person shooters, first person shooters. There needs to be a variety.
I agree.
Yep. And I actually have a different reason why there's not much arcade races. I'm just gonna state it in terms of esports, and I know how many people love the term esports. But really, the focus is more on racing sim esports, like Forza Motorsport, which I saw a couple weeks ago, and apparently Project Cars and now and Project Cars 2 is trying to be esports. So they're trying to market that into the mainstream titles. Hell, the Las Vegas E-Race earlier, well, at the top of the year in January, it got a lot of attention. Good attention? Probably not, because I personally saw it and I think it was one of the worst things I've ever seen. But if esports sim racing does take off, then I don't think people would want to take a chance on the arcade races. They want to gear towards simulation racing, even the SimK ones, like again Forza Motorsport. So personally, I think there's gonna be more attention towards simulation type racing games rather than arcade based games where stuff like prize money is on the line. So I could see a lot more interest over there.
Also, let me see. I think we're gonna move on to the next one unless SSJ got his mic fixed. No, no. All right, we're gonna
You guys
move
hear
on.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We're
Oh,
on
all right.
question
Hey,
number
what's going
3
on,
on the
guys?
document. Hey, what's going on? Could you introduce yourself, please, real quick to the audience who might not know that you came in late?
All right, what's going on, guys? I'm the SSJ God. I'm not too much of an expert in this genre, but I have played an okay amount to have at least a little bit of say.
All right, so I'm gonna sort of backpedal to the previous questions 1 and 2 because I think they are really important. So, could you name off your top 5 favorite car combat and arcade style racers?
All right, let's see. All right. In no particular order.
Yeah, no particular order.
All right, that make it a lot easier. Okay, so one of them would have to be Twisted Metal 2 for PlayStation. I just really had a lot of fun in that game as a kid playing with my cousins and stuff. And I thought it was really good too. Like almost everything was done really well for a game of that time. Let's see. I'm also going to go on a limb here and say that I don't know if any of you guys played Crash Team Racing.
I have actually. That game is great.
Yeah, like that's up there too for me. Just because I like Crash. I think that was the first Crash Bandicoot game I ever played. So, just instantly fell in love with him after that game and just the entire series. Would any of the Burnouts fit this category? Burnout would fit this category, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it does.
All right. For me, it's kind of a toss up between Takedown and Burnout Revenge because I don't know. I just liked her. I don't know. I just like Revenge. Like it had a little bit different mechanic to it. But
The takedown
Gen-
mechanics in Revenge felt a lot more fun because you can steamroll through traffic like no tomorrow. Not saying you can't do that in Burnout 3, but it felt a lot more like there's an obvious course that you have to race as opposed to sheer mayhem in Revenge. So that's why I like
yeah,
Revenge a little bit more. But they're
yeah,
still great games.
yeah. I would just have both of them in there.
Yeah, they count for sure. You have
Um,
one more pick for us?
One more. All right. Let me think. Okay. All right. All right. For my last pick, I'm gonna go with Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, the 2010 version. That was that. I think that one Criterion stepped in, right, for that one.
I'm not sure. Tommy, you know anything about Hot Pursuit?
The reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, think Bennett because it was developed by Criterion.
It was.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that one too. Like, I thought the game looked really nice. It had really great graphics. And the driving. I mean, the driving was maybe a little bit unrealistic because the drifting was too clean. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah, I had
drifting
that
was
flaw.
just really clean.
I had that problem with the Need for Speed reboot, like I mentioned. And it's just too simplistic for my liking.
Yeah, you can just tell it's not like just physically possible, but it's still cool. The drifting mechanic, but yeah, everything was just. I thought the racing was great. They had a story mode where you could be a racer, you could be a cop as well. I thought that was cool. The last race in as a racer was the entire map. So I thought that was cool how they threw in like every single course, kind of just threw it all in one. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, so we're gonna piggyback off the last one that you missed. The other ones are not too much of a big deal since we're continuing. But name your top five
Okay,
worst.
I throw in one more quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
This isn't a really popular game, but has anyone played this game called Road Trip Vacation 2012?
No, I haven't
No.
even heard of it actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not popular at all, but it's made by the same people that made Twisted Metal, so it's kind of similar in that respect.
That's interesting.
But yeah, it was. I thought it was really underrated game. Like if you're ever bored or anything and like just want to try like a new game or something, I'd recommend that. It's definitely fun for a couple hours.
All right, do you have a top five worst or maybe a car combat or arcade style racer that you hated? It doesn't have to be five either. It could be like one, two, or three at best. Cause mine's was like I think two. So yeah, my list wasn't that big.
All right. I was never really a fan of the Dirt series. Just because I just think it wasn't really my style. I couldn't really get into it. And one more would be and that's kind of hard. I'm trying to think back through all the car games I played.
Well, I know, like I said, one for me was disappointing. It wasn't a bad game, but Twisted Metal, like the one for PS3, I just didn't like how the
Oh,
content
they
was.
came out with one for PS3.
Yeah, they did, and the content was like lacking, and the controls weren't that great, in my opinion. Too convoluted. But
Is it
if you
even
want to
worth
just talk
checking out?
it's worth it, but the online is, I mean, it sucks. Nobody's probably playing it. I think it was free on like PS Plus like once. That's how I picked it up, and I just wasn't compelled to like play it because the mechanics and everything else. I mean, while they were great, uh, the stuff that they cut was really disappointing, and the fact that there's not that many drivers compared to the older ones is really a problem.
Okay.
But I guess we can move on from that one. So we're gonna talk about stuff about sim racing. So compared to simulation racing, do you prefer sim racing or car combat action style racers? My answer is simple: yes, because I don't like simulation stuff in general. Like everything that's sim based, where it's hyper realistic. The cars, they need to be driven at a certain level in order to maintain a certain speed. You have to keep aware of like all this shit. I really don't like it compared to like trying to jump in, have fun, and have a good time. So yeah, sim stuff is just basically if I want simulation stuff in general, I just watch like some WWE stuff. That's like somewhat entertaining to me, but still, I would rather prefer action based over anything simulation any day. So, anyone else have any opinions on this topic?
I'm actually the complete polar opposite of you, man. I actually do enjoy simulation games. One look at my YouTube channel and however often you see on my Twitch streams sure tell you this much. But I just like I'm a motorsport fan, and since I was a child, so I enjoy stuff like NASCAR, stuff like inside sports car racing. Simulation racing was just kind of secondhand. Now, the first time I played was NASCAR Racing 2003 season, and I remember enjoying that to the point where I actually one of my then brother-in-law bought me a G25 steering wheel, and it was pretty much history from there. I just enjoy hitting my marks, getting through the corner at a specific speed, and I also like the strategy portion of simulation racing. Like, do you want to pit this lap, or do you want to stay out a couple of extra laps and pit next time by, or stuff like that. And especially on the online scene, I thoroughly enjoy the spirit of competition online, especially on iRacing. There's just no comparison. There's just no going back to me, really.
Hmm. I mean, it's not a bad genre for certain people, but there's a certain like tolerance you need to have for it because if you're like super impatient, then I would assume simulation whatever just wouldn't apply. That's not to say it's bad. I did like Gran Turismo for what it was. I really enjoyed the first game like really a lot, and I think a lot of the games that I played in the past, like Need for Speed, V Rally, racing games like that, I did have a lot of fun with. I wanted to play Drive Club, but we got fucked on the free version, so I was like, after a certain portion of time waiting for that to be fixed and come out, I just said screw it. So it came out, I was like not interested, and I moved on. So that's how I felt about that. Gran Turismo still a fun series sometimes, but yeah, I like the action stuff a lot better. So how do you feel about this Daybreaker?
Um, I'm kind of indifferent. Like, I haven't really played a lot of simulation racing games to really say that I have an opinion on it. I certainly feel that it has its place, and I could definitely see where Tommy's coming from, talking about like the more competitive aspect of it with the racing sims that are out there. I think that's actually kind of neat. Personally, I'm more or less just indifferent. I do prefer the action stuff as opposed to simulation, kind of more so with just anything simulation. I'm not really big on the simulation genre as a whole. About the only ones I think I could play were like SimCity, but I mean, even that's kind of stretching it thin because that's not really, I don't know, that's not really super simulation because like you can summon giant monsters to blow up your city. So, but I'm more or less indifferent about it, but I would have to say that I'm leaning more towards the arcade combat, vehicular combat sort of games that are just kind of more over the top. And kind of the same way I look at sports games. I prefer those just because to me they're a lot more fun to play.
Yeah. Mr. SSJ, what about you?
Okay. So I can definitely see how and why people can really enjoy simulation games. I haven't played too many. I've played maybe about 3, but I have been hooked onto them, and I definitely did enjoy them. But just overall for me, hands down, I definitely enjoy combat racing games / arcade racing games more. I just feel like when I'm playing a racing game or something, the simulation's okay every once in a while, but just mainly I just want to hop on and just have cool power-ups, just blow shit up, and just just do all sorts of supernatural shit that I couldn't necessarily do in real life. That's just kind of how I see it. It just makes it a little bit more enjoyable, and I don't know. That's an interesting dynamic to racing games, I think.
Yeah, I think it's mostly like, different strokes for different folks. Like you're gonna have a liking to particular genres that you like, especially for even stuff like racers. So it just comes with the territory.
It also doesn't have that sim racing in general is a niche genre. So if you want to spend some time into it, and don't get me wrong, it is great, but it is a complete time sink because sometimes you have to set your car to suit your driving style, or in case of oval racing, where I come from, you have to set it up so that you can last an entire run on a single set of tires, so that you don't get blown back because you may have a good short run setup, but in the long run, when the tires fall off, you'll just fall back quick. Not to mention, it's also a money sink, especially in iRacing, because you had to pay like $10 to $12, sometimes even 15 for pieces of content like tracks and cars. And not to mention, you have to invest in equipment like a Stingray or pedal set. I've seen some people invest up to $1,000, maybe even more, on a 80/20 rig and OSW.
God damn.
And OSW, which is like the strongest force feedback base around. Like, you, to put it this way, if you hang on to the rear wing and crash, it will break your wrist, guaranteed.
Jesus.
So yeah, it's a time sink. It's a money sink. I know for a fact that people do spend a good amount of money on equipment. I know I am, but if it's not for you, then it's just simply not for you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that logic. So we're gonna move on to question number 5. A pretty simple one. Is there any new upcoming racing games you look forward to or want to play? My answer is pretty simple. Wipeout Omega, that came out like under the radar for me. I was looking forward to it and it came out. So I do want to buy it eventually when I get my hands on it. I also want to get this game called Grip on Steam. It's a racing game. A lot of people really enjoy it. I think it's another callback to like roll cage racing where you're just having fun. And it's arcade style. It's pretty fast and furious. So I want to pick that game up and experience it. I think it's in early access though, so keep in mind. I'm not sure if they finished that little phase or not, but the last time I saw it, it was in early access. So I want to get Grip, Wipeout. I never played a Wipeout game, but now's the time to really start getting into it. So those are the 2 I want. Anyone else want to go?
I would definitely say that I'm right there with you with Wipeout. I was super excited to hear that was coming out. I think that was announced at last year's E3. if I remember right, alongside Crash Trilogy, which is super exciting. But yeah, Wipeout Omega Collection is out now. Once I get the money for it, if I ever have the extra money for it, definitely going to be something I'm adding to my collection. Always been a big fan of the Wipeout series. I think the very first one I ever played was actually the third game, but I was like instantly hooked as soon as I played it. So definitely looking forward to when I get that. But the other one that I'm looking forward to right now that I do have pre-ordered is kind of like a spiritual successor, I would say. Maybe not necessarily a successor, but it's definitely in the same sort of vein. The game is currently out now on Steam, but it's getting ported to consoles. It's a game called Redout. Pretty much the same sort of concept as Wipeout, futuristic racing, just, high speed chases and stuff like that. You got all your weapons and things like that. That's coming out at the end of August, I believe, for consoles. So I'm super excited for that. I would get it on Steam, but I don't think my computer can run it, unfortunately, which is just a shame of, even though I have a pretty decent gaming rig, I just don't have a really good graphics card at the moment. So something I will definitely be looking forward to on PS4. That's really the only one off the top of my head at the moment that I know that's coming out, at least for consoles. But I will say I am giving in to a lot of the rumors about the potential remake of Crash Team Racing. A lot of rumors have speculated that if the Crash Insane trilogy sells really well, which I have no reason to doubt it will, I think a lot of people are really looking forward to the Crash Insane trilogy. I know a lot of people in the IAS are looking forward to it. Myself included, because I've had it pre-ordered for months. But if that sells well, a lot of the rumors are speculating that they're going to be remaking Crash Team Racing in the same sort of vein, like complete overhaul of the graphics. But I'm really looking forward to that if those rumors have validity, because right now it's all just hearsay, it's all just rumors, so I can't say 100% it's fact. I just really, really hope it's on the horizon, because I really, really want that.
What about you, Tommy?
There's two that I'm actually looking forward to. Well, one of them is already released now, but I'm just gonna mention it anyway. Dirt 4. I enjoy Rally, but I haven't been going back into it. And after seeing some of the streamers play, I actually do want it. I do hear about the issue with the rally cars having too much rear grip, especially on tarmac stages. I'm pretty sure that'll get patched out, but I'm actually looking forward to getting that. Another one would be Project Cars 2. To be honest, I'm definitely disappointed in the first Project Cars, and if we included Sim Racing Tires, that game would definitely be on the list. Since it's not, I'll just leave it off. But Project Cars 2 does look promising. I just hope they learn from the mistakes they made in the first Project Cars, so that way I can enjoy that one a lot more than the first one. So there's that. And in terms of arcade races, I know both of them are sim racing titles. Well, I'm not even sure if you call it Dirt 4 a sim racing title, more like a Simcade, I want to say. Regardless. And in terms of arcade races, I honestly can't think of anything at the moment. So,
I kind of want to give Danger Zone a plug because it's supposedly going to be a Burnout successor. So,
I totally forgot about Danger Zone. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, I want to get that really, really bad.
Highway to the Danger Zone.
Yeah, I definitely want to get my hands on Danger Zone because I just the concept in general of Burnout making some type of spiritual successor or comeback or return, it really gets my blood pumping. Even though it's kind of funny, I saw Need for Speed Payback and they kind of ripped off the takedown mechanics from Burnout. I thought that was hilarious. Still seeing some ex-developers get together and say we want to make a successor. I really want to see this happen. I saw the trailer and it looked fun for what it was. Kind of short, but I might give it a try. If it's really good, I'm definitely going to pick it up sometime later in the future on PC.
Funny enough, as soon as I saw that payback trailer, sorry, going off a little tangent. As soon as I saw that, it's not what you described. More to me, it's more like they ripped off of the crew with the plot from the recent Fast and Furious titles. I'm like, really?
Yeah, they showed a scene like I think it was GameSpot. They showed a comparison scene of Fast and Furious and a scene from Need for Speed Payback, and it looked the exact same of the car coming out of the truck. So I was like, maybe I think maybe in general, and I think Dom said this, they should have made like a Need for Speed sort of crossover with like Fast and Furious. Maybe that would have been cool. But instead we got Payback. I mean, it's too early to tell if the game looks bad or not. But from what I've seen, yeah, they are definitely taking some liberties from Criterion on that one.
It's probably better than the Need for Speed reboot because the single player is not locked on an online devil wall.
Yeah,
I want to say what's that term again? It's
paywall,
not always online.
always
No, it's
online.
not.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely some good news at least. So what about you, SSJ God?
All right. Going back to what was being said about the Crash remake or the Crash Team Racing remake, I also heard that rumor, and which I have no doubt that the trilogy is going to sell really well. Like I have like 100% confidence. Like if it doesn't, like I'll go streaking. Like that's how much confidence I have that this will sell insane. So I definitely hope it sells really well, and I hope they do actually consider remaking Crash Team Racing, because I think in this generation, what they can do with that would just be absolutely sick. But going back to, I think everyone did 2 games, right? So I'm just gonna do 2 games as well, just to keep up with the rhythm. Okay, so the first game is going to be this game called Speed Elixir. I don't know if anyone's heard of that.
No, I haven't actually. Damn, I could look
It's
into
not
it
a
though.
really popular game. I don't even know when the release date is. I think it's only in alpha right now. But yeah, I've been looking at it ever since it was in pre-alpha, and I think it's got some potential. I mean, once again, it was in pre-alpha, so I can't really say too much about it, but I definitely think it does have some potential to be a fun game. And my second choice would be this game called Road Rage. It's going to be like this third-person action game where you're basically you're in a gang and you're driving motorcycles, and it's going to be like this arcade kind of style, driving through the city, racing other gangs. You can hit people off motorcycles, then they just go flying up in the air. Like it's just going to be this hilariously fun arcade combat game. So I think that'll be good too. So I'm definitely looking forward towards that.
Yeah, I remember Road Rage. That's the game where you can beat people with like bats while you're on a motorcycle.
Yeah, like bats and like golf clubs and just
Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous. I love Road Rage. I played a lot of like Road Rage and Road Rash and all that sort of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's where it's coming from. This was inspired by the Road Rash series. So
Yeah, that's gonna be something. That's gonna be something spectacular if it's done right. So I'm hoping that it is. So we're gonna close out on the last question here. So in closing, is there any car combat or action style racers that you wish made a comeback in today's gaming era? I think a lot of people already said they really want the Crash Team Racing remake, so I'm right up there with you guys. Um, I really want Burnout to come back as well because we were talking about Need for Speed Payback and how they are kind of ripping off the takedown mechanics. So, I mean, they might as well just like try to get Criterion to do like more games for their studios. I don't know why EA won't utilize them that much as they used to, but another Burnout game would be fantastic actually. I'm trying to think of some more. I wouldn't mind yet again another like Twisted Metal, because I feel as though that could be something very very good for Sony. So if they bring that back and just try to put in like all the drivers and bring back that same sort of storyline they had from Black, I think it would be another interesting game. Also, we need a good Twisted Metal that refines the online because the online for the PS3, like I said earlier, wasn't that great. So I wouldn't mind that coming back as well. So anyone else have any sort of additions to this opinion right here?
I think you pretty much hit the ones that I would say. Definitely, I am all for a new Twisted Metal. I think with what they could do with the PS4, I think it could be really great. They just need to look at like kind of what the PS3 version didn't do and do the stuff in the new version that the PS3 version didn't do. Bring back just all the different racers that you can choose from. Just bring back all the crazy funness of the multiplayer that was there, and yeah, definitely a stable online would be really nice. There's not really like a series per se that I can think of that I really want to see make a comeback. Of course, other than the Crash Team Racing remake, Jack X, if that got a remake or a potential port to PS4, I'd really be in favor for that because I never got to experience the online of that game. Online gameplay didn't come until like PS3 for me. Like I didn't start doing online gaming until I got my PS3. So I never got to experience any of the online stuff for PS2. So like to see like Jack X come back from PS2 to PS4 as like a port, if it opened up the servers again and let us play online, then that would be really something that would be awesome because emulators can only do so much. And right now, I believe the PS2 emulators don't have online support, like to play between multiple people. So there's always that. There's not really like any specific like franchise I want coming back. Wipeout Omega Collection is ports and remakes of previous titles. So if it sells well and people really enjoy it, I would like to see maybe a new Wipeout come out as well. That would be super cool. Maybe add in some more racers, give us some new tracks, or revitalize old tracks from the older games or something that didn't come back. That would be super cool. There's so many Wipeout games. There's like three. I think there's like three of them on PS1. The N64 one was actually its own thing, if I recall correctly. And then there's the ones on PSP. There's just so much there. So like just to see like maybe even just like a new Wipeout title that just brings back all the old tracks from like every game, just redone. I mean, if Mario Kart 8 can do it and just blow me away with like seeing tracks from like the Super Nintendo era, the back then when it was just 16-bit redone in complete 3D with fully fledged graphics and all the bloom and everything like that, and how amazing it is just to like relive those tracks in today's graphics. I could definitely see that working for a new iteration of Wipeout. So that would be my take on the matter.
What about you, Tommy?
Hearing all this road rage talk makes me wonder. I really want to see road rash getting reintroduced back into the gaming scene. There is a road redemption, but last I checked, I still don't think it's out really asses. But yeah, a return to road rash would be pretty neat, even by today's standards. Pick up the controller you play. Just as long as that bike handles nicely, and as long as it has a good arsenal of weapons to deal with, as well as the hand-to-hand combat mechanic while riding on the bike, and that would be greatly welcome in today's gaming scope, especially since we kind of do need more two-wheel arcade races. This is coming from a guy that does four wheels. I don't mind seeing two.
SSJ God?
To be honest, you guys kind of took like all mine.
That always happens.
Said everything that I had on my mind. Maybe just one thing. I would not mind if they kind of did kind of a matchup or a mashup kind of all-star title character game but just for PlayStation. So like, yeah, you said you played Jack X, right? So it would kind of be like maybe like that style kind of, but it would be like Jack, it'd be Ratchet and Clank. It'd be like Sly Cooper, Spyro, Crash, like kind of just all.
So
in one game.
PlayStation All Stars Racers?
Yeah, kind of like that.
I honestly could probably see that working a little bit more better than the fighting game.
Yeah, I could see that too, actually.
that would be funny, actually.
Yeah, that I think it's very simple for them to do something like that, as opposed to say, we're gonna rip off Smash, but you have to get kills, and it's just not as fun. So I think like PlayStation All Stars Racers, that would be a lot more interesting in my opinion. I think that Sega also did like more kart racing stuff with like Sega All Stars Transformed.
That game's really good.
Yeah, and a lot of people really like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hell, I talked about South Park Rally. If South Park can make a kart racer, I don't see why PlayStation could freaking not do a kart racer.
Yeah, they have plenty of
there's
characters.
There's like even like a Disney kart racer, if I remember right, and there was like even like a DreamWorks kart racer, like Shrek Speedway or some bullcrap like that. So it's like, if all these weird brands can make kart racers based off their freaking movie franchises, crap, why can't freaking Sony jump on that shit?
Yeah, they have like enough characters to do so as well, so it shouldn't be too hard.
License to pit money right there.
Didn't they have like you remember that game called Sneak King with the Burger King mascot?
Fucking Bike Racer! Oh my god, yes!
Oh my god.
That game is so bad, it's so fun to play when you got friends to play it with. Oh,
it really is.
Jesus Christ. So we're gonna end off shout out to Burger King for making bad games. So we're gonna do our outros here.
I was gonna ask, can I just say just like one thing? I had a couple things on my list that I didn't get to mention. Can I just do like a notable mentions?
Sure.
So notable mentions on just arcade racing and vehicle combat that I didn't get to talk about that were on my list. Extreme G 1 and 2 for N64, if anybody wants to check those out. San Francisco Rush 2049, freaking love that game. Another N64 classic. The Ridge Racer series, definitely another arcade racer that I really enjoy. As well as Blur. That was the other one I didn't get to talk about. Blur is super fun. It's interesting because I believe Ubisoft made that one. And it's pretty much kind of in the same vein of like Wipeout and Mario Kart, but it's actual real cars instead of, kart racing or, futuristic racing vehicles. So that one's actually really fun. So I actually picked that up about last year or something like that, finally, after hunting down a copy of it. And I really enjoy it. So definitely check that one out.
Yeah, I've been wanting to check that one out for a while, actually. So yeah, I think I'm gonna look into that one.
All right, so we're gonna do our outros here. So Tommy, do your outro, please, sir.
Well, since I'm the Infinite Animals resident series, if you want to check out my iRacing streams, it's twitch.tv/Tommy44Facchetti. Okay, follow me on that channel. Best way to know when I go live. My Twitter is also about the same name, @Tommy44Facchetti. Also, best way to know when I go live. I also do some sports and video game videos on that account, so follow that. I promise, no politics, because I'm just getting sick of it. My YouTube is Tommy44Facchetti. Over there, I upload video game videos there. Mostly iRacing, but come to think of it, I really need to get back into doing the FedEx Stella. Regardless. Well, on that note, guess I will CM check next time.
SSJ God?
Alright, so just want to say that I enjoyed this call. Once again, I'm not a expert or specialist in the car combat genre / simulation racing genre, but I think I was able to give a little bit to the conversation, and I definitely enjoyed hearing all of your perspectives on the genre as a whole and what games you liked and / didn't like. As for YouTube, haven't really been active lately. Not sure what direction I want to go in, so I've been holding off for a little bit. Twitter, you can just crap. Hold on. It's a little different. That's my username on Twitter. If you want to follow, I don't really post too many political stuff. Mostly just kind of gaming stuff / anime stuff / funny memes or anything that I see on there. So once again, thanks guys for the call. Definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'll put that as an edit in the video so people can see the name, no problem.
Okay.
So next up we have Mr. Daybreaker.
Alrighty, guys, you can find me on YouTube at Daybreaker Rain, also Daybreaker Rain's LP channel, where I do a bunch of gaming content. The main Daybreaker Rain channel is met mostly from my streaming archives, as well as I do a series called Just Another Gaming Rant, where I talk about various gaming topics. They're not necessarily angry, so don't come in expecting like irate gamer, angry video game nerd, just cussing and swearing, stuff like that. It's more just a rant discussion, if anything. And then, of course, my LP channel where I've been trying to do day-to-day content. I've got like 5 LPs going on right now. About to come to another one, so I'll save that. But you can also find me on Twitch at Daybreaker Rain, or of course I do my streaming, as well as Twitter at Daybreaker Rain. And you guys don't have to follow my Twitter, but if you guys could do me a huge favor, my pinned tweet is a straw poll to my Extra Life campaign. I am looking for voting on some games I've listed for what I'm going to be playing over the month of October for Extra Life, leading up into game day. So if you'd like to cast your vote, by all means, I appreciate it. As well as if you see that tweet, you can leave a comment. I will be participating in game day, so I'll be doing an all-day gaming marathon. So if you got a recommendation for a game you'd like to see me play or attempt to play, throw me a comment. I'd really appreciate it.
All right, and you can find me on Twitter at RentOperative_. You can find me on YouTube at Renegade Operative. I probably will be doing solo stuff sometime next week, whenever I get the chance. Probably going to be streaming some more Jason Bourne Conspiracy, or talking about comic book shit, which is interesting because they're talking about Blade rumors, so I might go into that a little bit next week. I have a lot of podcasts to upload. I have to upload this. I have to upload the E3 reactions, and I have to upload the Nintendo GameCube podcast. That's happening early tomorrow. So I'm on the grind right now, but I really enjoyed this call. I'm sure that the next one is going to be interesting as well. Sooner or later, we're going to go on summer break. So sometime in July, I think we're going to just, chill out, have fun. We might still do live streams, but main podcast stuff is going to be like reorganized until like we get all the way up to Gamescom, which is in August. So once again, I really enjoyed this call. I cannot wait until future content. It's been a pleasure talking to everyone. Hopefully you guys out there on YouTube land enjoyed this podcast. And once again, take care.
Later, guys.
See ya.
Take care, guys.